Hey everyone, welcome to FX Edits, and today I want to show you and talk about the Adobe Photoshop Lightroom and how you can actually use all of the features, like most of the features in Adobe Photoshop without having to download the Adobe Lightroom. As you probably know, these are the two logos of these softwares. Both of them are from Adobe, obviously, but most people think they have to download the Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. By the way, to make the naming clear, there is this Adobe Photoshop that you are familiar with, and there is also Adobe Photoshop Lightroom, which is the Lightroom that you are familiar with. So in case you want to use most of the features from Lightroom in Photoshop, you can very easily do it. Just like you can see, I have already imported a photo from Los Angeles. And let's say I want to edit like the contrast, the highlights, the colors, the temperatures, and all of the things that you would normally do in Adobe Lightroom, but instead just do it in Photoshop. So once you have this, once you have, of course, the layer selected, you have to navigate to Filter and open up Camera Raw Filter. And here opens up a panel which allows you to do many different things that you would normally do in Photoshop. You can manipulate the hue, you can manipulate the saturation, and all of the things that are modified in Photoshop. But you can do it very easily here. So once you are done, just click OK. But the problem is that right now you cannot modify it or cannot do any other changes. So let's come back, and what you have to do at first is to right-click on the layer and convert to Smart Object. Once you have done that, just click on Filter once again at the top and open up the section called Camera Raw Filter. So again, once you are here, just perform all of the steps. I'm going to go through all of the panels really quickly here. By the way, if you are new here on this channel, just consider clicking on the subscribe button because I upload many videos per week where I try to do some sort of tutorials for people to know how to edit photos, videos, and other stuff in Photoshop and Adobe programs. So make sure you subscribe so you won't miss anything important in the future. But the reason why I turned the layer into Smart Object is when you, for example, do some sort of changes here or do some stuff, just you hit OK, you can see something appeared right underneath it, which means that you can toggle off the changes to see the difference. You can just double click it and go and modify it once again. It's not like fixed or anything. You can just bring it back exactly how you had it before or do some modification even after you have done or thought that it is okay. So of course the first section is like the basic stuff. You have all of the exposure, highlights, shadows, and all of that. You even have the saturation and vibrance. You probably were familiar with most of them even without the Camera Raw filter. But here you even have the tone curve, you have all of the options for curves and stuff like that. Of course, all of the curve stuff. And here you have the detail. Just like all the time in Adobe Lightroom. Even on the mobile version, you have all of the sharpening tools and all of that, so you can mess around with that. I'm pretty sure you are familiar with this, but what people mostly have problem with is finding the very same thing in Photoshop, and they mostly think that they have to download the Lightroom. Of course, if you are like a photographer, then having Lightroom definitely makes sense, since it is a software that photographers just go to, and if you only plan on retouching photos, you don't really need Photoshop, just get the Lightroom instead. But if you are in the case that you just want to do some sort of changes within the photo that you have already edited in Photoshop, or don't care about Lightroom that much, you can access these settings and these changes here. So of course you have the split toning. I skipped the colors, but you are familiar with this. Of course we have the lens correction. This is really cool. You don't even have that on Lightroom Mobile. So there's that. You have some effects like dehaze and stuff, like you can add grain. All of the things that you normally do in Lightroom. And also you have camera calibration, which is also something that you do not have in a Lightroom Mobile, so this is very cool. And you can also save presets, so whenever you are satisfied with this, just create a new preset and name it whatever you want. Just toggle on all of the things that you messed with and just create a preset. I don't know what you know exactly what's going on. But one very interesting thing, or one panel, is this one right here. You can see that you can create filters like graduated or radial filter. So you can just create and make this area darker. Just use the gradient tool. I mean, there are plenty of things to play around with, and it's just great that you don't really have to download Photoshop Lightroom, as they call it, and you can only use the classic version of Photoshop. So yeah, once you hit OK, you come back to this, and now you can, like I said, modify the changes once again. So this was exactly the reason why you should turn the layer into Smart Object. And now we got to the end of this video. I want to say thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, where I talk about some changes on, for example, on Lightroom on mobile, or for example, how you can exactly edit this, not only how to get here, but how to do or perform some sort of changes, then you should definitely click on the subscribe button, and see you guys later in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys later.